Hi, my name is Monique, and along with my colleague Irina, we'll be discussing our fingerprinting experience at UWA. We hope to inspire you to find uses for fingerprinting at your institution. I will cover how fingerprints are created and edited. Irina will explain requested use cases at UWA, and I will then list some suggested areas for development. There'll be a couple of minutes at the end, hopefully, for us to answer any questions that you might have. Fingerprinting is the process of extracting and weighing key concepts that characterize a text. Up to 3 thesauri are selected from the list to match concept terms. Fingerprints are created from different fields, depending on the module, and they have a variable ability to be configured. Research outputs, as you can see from the screen, they source fingerprints from the title or the title and the abstract. You can configure these options. Note that no fingerprint is created for records imported from Web of Science due to licensing. Equipment and prizes modules use the title and description, and the awards module uses title and description, but will also use descriptions from the related project if there's nothing present on the award. Organisational units and persons use an aggregated fingerprint. This is where the fingerprints from related records are taken, summarised and normalised from other related content types. Person content types uses both fingerprints aggregated from related content and the research interest statement. In persons fingerprints, you have the ability to hide concepts. The only way to consistently add fingerprint concepts to a person record is to add a research interest statement in English describing academic work or interests relating to these concepts, as you cannot simply add them to the list of concepts. As you can see from the screen, when we hide fingerprint concepts, they remain in the background, so the weightings are not affected for the remaining visible concepts. The Research Output module also allows you to remove fingerprint visibility. To add new fingerprints, however, you would need to add words to the abstract, and this may not be appropriate and is certainly not ideal. Note that the Pure manual is a little out of date in a couple of references to fingerprints, as it doesn't tell us that we can now hide fingerprints on both research outputs and organisational units. Other modules, such as award, project, prize and equipment, do not allow you to hide fingerprint concepts. These cannot be altered except by altering the title or description fields. There are no fingerprints for the datasets module.
The content fingerprinting job in our Pure has been configured to skip the records without abstract descriptions to avoid inaccurate fingerprinting, such as one in this example. Is not from all types we can, content types we can hide the incorrect fingerprints. Fingerprints have proved to be a useful tool for repository users in identifying researchers and publications in areas of interest. Users can do this by a concept search on a portal. However, it has its limitations. We have received a number of reporting requests from our Research Office and Faculties schools for reports on researcher groups and their related content, which includes their fingerprints and weightings. Here are some examples. For a report to the Vice Chancellor, we were asked to identify UWA researchers in nano and biomaterial science. This was quite a straightforward task. By using the filter for fingerprints and selecting the relevant concepts, there were about 62, I think, we were able to provide the list of researchers who work in this area, as well as the list of their publications. But unfortunately, we were not able to fulfill all requests. For example, one of our large research institutes, Oceans Institute, has staff working across different faculties and schools. They are asking for the ability to retrieve the institute's members' collective fingerprints to identify the institute's collective research strengths. Or another example is our research office asked us if it was possible to run a report on researchers to include the fingerprints and they're waiting to be able to do matchmaking, finding researchers with same or similar fingerprints. They would also like to be able to identify collaborators and mentors. At this stage, the only possibility for us to fulfill this request is to report on a research expertise or keyword fields, which are added in the profiles manually by researchers, and of course there is no consistency in this data. We recently learned that fingerprints can be retrieved via web services, but this is for organizational units only, and we haven't tried this yet. We have submitted an improvement request asking to include fingerprints as projections in the reporting module. This will assist us greatly. And there are several requests from other Pew users too, and they are all linked to the JIRA on this slide. Please vote for it.
Okay, so areas for development. The ability to hide fingerprints in all modules rather than just in persons' research outputs, and I should also add organisational units. The ability to change the fingerprints weighting, that's something that they've been asking for quite a lot. The ability to add fingerprints directly to content, especially research outputs, not just to hide them. To use more thesauri for a better coverage, wide subject areas. Adding fingerprints to datasets module. And I wanted to add, most importantly for us right now, the improved ability to report on fingerprints. It's quite restricted at the moment, but that's an area we particularly like to develop. If anyone has any questions, that would be great. We would also love to hear of your ideas of how you're using fingerprints, ways we might not have thought of.
Thank you so much. So a few things came to mind. So one of the things you mentioned on your slide was the ability to get sort of retrieve the collective fingerprint of a group of researchers. But I'm guessing it's not the same. So you mentioned before that we aggregate fingerprint up on organizational level, but that was not what you were interested in, right? You wanted the sort of the full portfolio of fingerprint on the individual persons. Is that correctly understood?
Yes, this is what they would like to have. Yes.
I think a lot of the ideas that you presented, it is something that we have heard, and I know that reporting on fingerprint is something you're not the only one who would like. So I would recommend going in and voting on it, and let's see if we can find a way to get it into reporting. It's a little bit tricky for us, but of course we can manage it somehow, I'm guessing. So I think we are just about running out of time in just a few seconds, but perhaps we could take some of these JIRA issues and put it up on the Slack channel, client Slack channel, and they can so get people engaged in voting on these issues also. But we have questions coming in here. If you link content, does the fingerprint match or check both content types? So I'm guessing if we're, for instance, is talking about a research output and the fingerprint of that, does it also check, is the question on the related project, for instance?
My understanding is that it doesn't. I haven't done any really testing, to be honest. I'll go test that after this session. But I wouldn't expect it does. Looking at how it creates the concepts, I would say no.
Not on research output. I think we do it, is it equipment? We have one where we aggregate something at least on it. So
yeah, it's not with the research outputs. With the person, it aggregates from research outputs and projects, awards, etc. So the aggregated, so if you're looking at my slides later at another session after this, where you have an aggregated one, it would look at them, but research output, no.
A final question here before we have to move on is, have you been looking into the web service and see if you can extract something there that might solve some of your needs?
We are going to look into this. We know that we found out just recently that organizational units can be retrieved from web services. So we are going to try to retrieve it from there.
Super. Thank you so much. The presentation will be made available public also afterwards, so you can see exactly how the fingerprint works and on aggregated level. And also, I'll talk to our tech writer about updating our documentation to be including the latest changes also. So thank you.